Hey everybody, my next guest is the host of the world famous Wild Cave and Adventure Tour at Sims Cave Park in Smoke Rise, Alabama. And he recently broke the world record Aussie rappel with 585 feet in Ellison's Cave. And here he is, the one and only cave explorer extraordinaire, Wes Sims. Wes, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Don. I'm glad you had me on.
This is awesome to have you on. Like I said, I've been watching your reels on Instagram and just fascinated by that whole world and of going into the caves, discovering all these things. Um, I just think it's pretty amazing. And also, congratulations on the world record as well.
So this is me about to set the world record for the longest Aussie rappel. I'm going almost 600 feet down this cave right here. This is a fantastic pit.
Right now.
This was a fun ride down. It took about a minute to get to the bottom.
Yeah, I don't think there's an authority that keeps track of things like that. But as far as what we've known documented, that's it. I've had some people come out since then and say, "Oh, somebody went down an 1,100-foot pit," and I go look at pictures and they're doing it. They're not doing it Aussie style. So, and that's basically Aussie style. Is I hook up to my back. I've got a figure eight and I just jump head first down. It's not really dangerous if you know what you're doing. So I've been doing this since I was 10 years old. Boy Scouts led me into exploring. So I went into the world of jumping off towers and stuff on rope when I was a young kid, and just haven't stopped. And fortunately, like, I've got this cave park. Life couldn't be better. It's one of those things where my job is not a job. I go in here, I have fun. I go explore caves, and I get to take others.
Right.
So hopefully maybe I can get you and your family, come on down. I know you're a big guy, but hey, I'll get you out, you're not going to get stuck.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too. If for bigger, like I'm 6 foot, but I kind of got broad shoulders and stuff like that, a little around the belly. So I don't know how that, if you have special like a big size tunnels for me to crawl through.
Yeah, but most of what we do is big stuff. But there's some places, if you're down there and you want a challenge, I've got plenty of passage where we're going to get you down into some smaller stuff if that's what you want. And so let's say you go down there with your kids and your kids want to go through some small stuff. You get to watch them. You don't have to follow them because all these passages connect, So
Gotcha,
it's a fun time. It's like a choose your own adventure. But I've had a 350-pound man come through there. He was 6'3".
Oh wow! Yeah.
Bigger guy, bigger round. I'm 6'2",
Okay,
but I'm under 200 pounds, so I'm kind of slim with it. But yeah, there's a few places you might be uncomfortable, but I think you'd be able to get through there with me.
Yeah,
you're not far either. You're over there in Georgia, aren't you?
I lived in Georgia for a long time. Now I'm back in New York. I'm from
Okay.
Long Island, New York. But yeah, I loved my time in Georgia. I was there for a couple of years. But yeah, I mean, you're. To me, like for me, I'm like a guy who's afraid of heights and get claustrophobia. You seem to be like have no fears, and I guess like how do you take me through that? Do you ever get nervous in situations?
I've had some moments. I mean, one thing that's very important, whether you're in a cave or probably any circumstance in life, is going to be, stay calm. And so once you stay, don't panic. So in those situations where, I mean, I've been pinned under a 100-pound rock, that fell on my back, and I've been literally in a small passage, kind of jammed in there, and I had to stay calm. I could have panicked, wiggled around. Other stuff could have fallen. There's no telling. It's just not good for anybody. So I've had one moment that I can remember where I really had some anxiety take over me, and it was no big deal. It was just I'd been underground for like 9 or 10 hours that day. I was at what I thought was the very end of the cave, and I just didn't know it. I'd never been through it before, and I was just ready to get out, and
Right.
I went through this very small place. I didn't know if it was the end of my cave, and I got to the top of this little passage, and I was like, I just started having this anxiety because I didn't know whether to go left or right. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just down here. I've been down here. I'm 9 hours in, and I'm going to have to go 9 hours back out,
Right.
But I thought I was at the very end of it. So I started having a little panic on me that day, and my buddy was behind me. And I tried to calm down. I cut our lights off. and I could actually see the sunlight. We were that close to the exit where you could see a glimmer of light, and that glimmer of light just gave me all that hope. That anxiety went away instantly. I was singing hallelujah. It was a good moment. But I can reflect back on that moment because I get guests, and these people have never been in a cave before. So I'm taking people somewhere uncomfortable. Everybody is out of their comfort zone. Everybody.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be comfortable when you're underground sliding through some stuff. So sometimes I'll take myself back to that moment where I was anxious, and I try to put myself where, okay, my guests, they might be feeling kind of funny right here. Whereas for me, I mean, it's just routine for me. But one good thing about my job, as routine as it is, I get different people underground. I've got millions of square footage underground. Like, you think I can put my eyes on that in one trip? No, it's going to take me my whole life of exploring this cave. So I found my first shark tooth in there last year. And that's almost 10 years of exploring a cave, and I finally found a shark tooth, and
Wow.
there's new stuff. We added about a half mile of passage last year of some new stuff me and my buddies got in there. Now, this wasn't on one of my cave tours.
Right.
This is some places where some buddies come in, and we're still pushing some passage and trying to get to places where people have never been before. So we broke through some rock and got into some places last year. So we had about another half mile of passage underground. So I'm still exploring. I'm still having a blast in my own place. So that's why I have a blast. My guests have a blast. I may have had a couple people that may not have had the best time, but they were glad they did it. They pushed through and made it to the end, and they're like, it's one of those things where you kind of overcome some of those fears. We do what we call cave therapy.
Right.
So if you got
Right.
claustrophobia in you, we're going to do a little cave therapy, and we're going to work you through this cave, and you'll feel good about yourself when it's all over.
I tell you what, when I'm watching your videos and kind of like, living vicariously through you and the people exploring the caves, it makes me want to do it more and more. Like, it's on my bucket list. It's something I think would be so amazing because not only are you kind of overcoming a fear and all that things, but some of the things that you're going to see along the way, whether they're, you know, 350 million year old fossils or little animals that might be beneath there and all kinds of plant life that I don't know how they grow in the pitch dark inside the caves. Like, all these kind of things must be pretty amazing and something that's always amazing to you. And I would think too that constantly exploring and finding new things and discoveries must be really what keeps you going forward with this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So when I meet up, I got some other creators we do a lot of caving with, and like we'll meet up in Indiana, Kentucky, some other places, and yeah, we're hitting caves we've never been in, and somebody might have been in them before, and we'll get old maps, these old people who've explored the caves before, but they only got so far, or they left these places open. There were some leads open for for the future. Like they know that this place might keep going. They just didn't have the time, or they weren't small enough, or who knows what reason they just left these places. Or we'll hear rumors about where these caves connect, and we're going and searching for those things, and that's fun. But there's not a lot of feelings that you're going to get in this life that can compare to like literally breaking into a new cave passage or opening up a cave no one's ever even been into. And like you're the first person going in. It's almost like blasting off in outer space. Like, where else can you explore? I mean, maybe in the depths of the ocean or something, but that feeling you get when you get into that place and you're the first eyes to ever see this, and it's an incredible feeling. Yeah. That's part of that adrenaline that keeps me, pushing faster. I mean, that's why we got to do some of the wild stuff, and we got to climb some of the crazy places and go through those tighter places, because those are restrictions, to keep us out. So, I never did like authority. So, if there's a tiny hole and you say I can't go through there, I'm going to go through there, or try my best. And some people don't like it, but I'm gonna send my kid through there if I don't fit, But my kids grew up in this cave. They're safe. They know, they know what they're doing. It's pretty cool to have them in there with me. In fact, my family's kind of what led to this whole thing. Just looking for some property out in the city of Birmingham where we could get out in the woods and explore. And I bought a property in the woods, and it said it had a natural cave on it, but Man, I had no clue this was one of the biggest caves in central Alabama.
Wow.
I had no idea. They didn't sell it, you know. It was
Right.
just they were selling some acreage and it just said natural cave, you know. So I get in there and there's like instantly I'm blown away. It's just I'm like, what? I'm thinking there's a little shelter we can get up under, hide from the rain.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
told the kids, I was like, we can build a fort. If there's a little cave, we can build a little fort in it. And so just wanting to get them out into nature with me and then end up with this massive cave. I've got an 80-foot cliff inside there. So I'm a rappeller. I love jumping off of things. Whether it's in a cave, outside of a cave, whatever, wherever it is, I like to jump off. I love ropes. And so when I found an 80-foot cliff in here, I'm just like instantly, that's all I wanted. And then I get bottom of this cliff and I'm finding waterfalls and I'm finding salamanders and that's full of bats and
Yeah.
all this cool stuff, under there. There's just so much passage was down underground. And so it was almost like a Christmas present, getting better and better. And here it is almost 10 years later and it's still getting better. We're still finding stuff. I found a big crystal room last year that never knew existed. We finally got up in there. No one, and this was a well explored cave. So
Right.
this cave was an open cave. It was a party cave for a long time. It got vandalized. A lot of the big stuff you can get into easily, it had damage, people spray painted on, but it was well explored for a long time. So the fact that I'm getting in here and we're pushing into places nobody's been ever, it's not like an unexplored cave. Like that feels good. It feels good that we're pushing in there and finding new things, literally 200 years after people I know were exploring it. So, a resort town on the other side of this mountain that I'm in called Blunt Springs. So before there was Birmingham, you had Mobile, was and they were trying to join it up with Huntsville and Tennessee. They're trying to join the railroads right there, and they had to come right up through the Gap. And
Wow.
so it was a stagecoach road a long time ago. They had a little resort town there. So in the early 1800s, people used to come sit in the springs on the other side of the mountain. And I've read some letters and stuff from the 1800s where they actually used to go explore the caves in the area. And I read some stuff where they were exploring the cave that I now have. And so it was cool to read that back in the early 1800s, they're riding a horseback down to my cave and they're going in there with a stick and some match or not whatever they light stuff with back then. I
Right.
don't even know, but they
Yeah.
were going in there with torches and they
Wow.
were lighting their way through the cave and exploring the scene way back then. So yeah, it's cool to still get in there, and I've still got some leads in my own cave for so any day of the week I can go in there and push a little bit farther and see some stuff nobody's ever seen. So I reserve those days for some special occasions, and when I get friends that come to town and we're gonna go push some cave and do some exploring.
When you going in there, have you found? I know you said you found the shark tooth and like obviously a lot of fossils in there and salamanders and stuff. But have you found anything from left behind artifacts from the past explorers in there, like
Well,
maps or whatever or torches or whatever?
yeah, we find some pieces of their torches, the sticks that were left in there. That's about the only thing that we find besides carbide dumps. So back when the carbide lantern days were around, and the miners used the same equipment the cavers used. So they would have the little device on their head with carbide in it. It had a little acetylene light, would put a little light out, and they would explore and very little light.
This flashlight operates without electricity or oil, relying instead on a 120-year-old technology known as a carbide lamp. To use it, you first disassemble the upper and lower sections of the lamp. Next, place small stones made of calcium carbide into the empty container at the bottom. When you add water, the calcium carbide reacts with it to produce acetylene gas, a highly flammable substance that powers the lamp.
But when that carbide gets spent, they have to dump that out. So we find little piles. It's almost like white piles we'll find in there from that. But nothing really. We found some Native American artifacts, arrowheads, and stuff like that have been found all around the cave and inside the cave. But that's just on the surface. If we dig down, we've got about 60 foot of stuff that we can dig down and actually do some kind of archaeological dig and find where they were living in the cave. There's no doubt in my mind they inhabited the cave. There's already been some artifacts found, but nobody's done any real digging. So when you first get into this cave, it's pretty big and wide, and it's where they would have been. And so I've got this dirt floor that needs some excavation. And one day that'll be on the list. We had some plans. 2020, actually, we had a little cave camp plan. We're going to have some kids come in and do a little cave camp for the week, but we had to cancel. We canceled 2020, so
Yeah, yeah.
we didn't get to do that. That was one of the things we were going to do. We were going to dig, and I was happy. I was going to let these kids do my digging,
Right.
and we
Yeah,
are going
yeah,
to
let
have fun with it.
them- yeah, exactly.
When they're fun. Yeah, we would have found some cool stuff. So that's on the list of things to do. It's not a priority, but we want to dig more. And, I have found a petrified bow drill down in the cave. So the Indians used to use it to start a fire with. It was just a little stick, and they had a little bow, and they just run it back and forth. And that little stick that would twist around and get the ambers off and start a fire. And so that little bow drill piece, I've actually got one. Like I said, it's old enough to be petrified, and so
Wow.
that could take hundreds of years or thousands of years for that to take place. But it was laying down in the creek, down way deep in the cave. So it was pretty cool to find that, and it's old. I can't fake the petrification, so it's definitely an old
Right.
artifact. And yeah, besides that, hey, we've got beer cans that go back to the 50s. That's some old caver artifacts right there that we find down in there. But
That's
yeah, it's you never know. You never know. We think we're gonna find more. We're always pushing to find more.
yeah. I think it's so cool. Every part of it, what you're doing. Um, and you're doing what you love, and the fact that you kind of bought this property and just have had this amazing cave there, what was it, Bryant Mountain,
Yeah.
and just it just everything happens for a reason, and I think it's in great hands with you at the helm there, and doing this. What's some of the trials and tribulations of exploring these caves, like especially if you don't, or if it's not mapped out, and and also, would you ever go alone? Would you always should always have someone with you, right? I mean, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we say. Sometimes we do things that we teach not to do, and I've done that before, and I learned my lesson. I actually got lost in a cave over in Alabama Georgia line, and I was down there for about 5 6 hours wondering why me. Like I mean, I'm the whole time. But the same thing, like earlier, one of the things you got to stay calm. And so I remained calm. I was like, of all people, I know I can find my way out of here. I got in here. Surely I can find it. And it was just a corkscrew cave, and I just kept getting, and I kept going to the entrance. I would go almost like I was less than a minute from the entrance, and I would stop at the spot, and I kept turning around because in my head I was like, oh, it's not there. It's not. And anyways, it was rough. But
when,
I
when
hadn't been
you're
exploring caves by myself since.
Yeah, because when you're in the cave, is it similar to sometimes you hear, when you go deep underwater, you forget which side is up and down and right and left, or do you always kind of have
Well,
an idea of that?
yeah, and unless I mean, we use a compass, so the compass will still work most of the time underground pretty accurately, so we can get a direction. But fortunately, we can always tell up and down, but
Right.
we don't
Yeah.
know if we're up higher or lower. I mean, there is a lot of memory coming in, and I'm always constantly turning around. As I'm going through, I'm constantly turning around, looking behind me because I want to know what this looks like on my way out. It's going to
Right.
look familiar. We kind of leave breadcrumbs in a sense in some places if we're going to push into some hole or we went down and it's just some real, like a place we know we may not our way, we'll leave some little ribbon or a piece of paracord hanging right there to know to go up or down. And
Right. Yeah.
so it's a lot easier in a cave that's been explored because, if you drag your feet across the ground, it's leaving a mark and that mark's not leaving marks. And so there's a general pathway through some of the more explored places. But yeah, in a cave no one's ever been in, there's no guide. There's no indication where the trail is. We reach a big pile of broken down rocks and we've got to get through this breakdown. And there's like so many paths to go. And so a lot of it's pushing, coming back and seeing what, just trying to get in there. But if it's a new cave, you just got to be aware of all the dangers. There's the danger's going to be falling. The danger's going to be something falling on you. And then you've always got what kills people is hypothermia and muscle exhaustion, is or just being stupid or not having the know-how or the knowledge. A lot of it's work. If you get in a high cave, and there's a lot of people that unfortunately they throw a rope down in a hole and they rappel down it, not knowing, and they don't tie a knot on the end of their rope. And that's like the simplest thing you can do to save your life is tie a knot on the end of your rope before you go rappel down a hole. And people jump off ends of ropes, and it's sad because it would happen more than what you would think. But that you get people that get hung up, and they're just not equipped because they don't have the experience, and they're hanging on a rope in a waterfall, and then they have some malfunction, and then they can't get out. It's cold underground. I've got
Yeah.
a 62-degree cave. I'm pretty blessed because as soon as you get north of Birmingham, you're getting into the high 50s. Then you're getting into the Tennessee. You're in your mid to low 50s, and I've got a 62-degree. It's great in the summer, great in the winter. It just feels comfortable. But yeah, when you're in a wetsuit, going through wet caves and it's 40 degrees, like the risk of hypothermia it can come on a lot quicker. So you've got to be aware of all the signs. I mean, listen to your gut. A lot of us, I've had some buddies, and we'll get so far in, and if they got a bad feeling, they'll stop. They're going to listen to themselves. They may feel a certain way, and they might hang out, wait on us, and or whatever. I mean, just whatever it is. You don't want to be caught up underground because there's no easy rescue.
Right.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
dragging people through little stuff that you can hardly get through wiggling on your own. I'm having look. All my buddies were going tomorrow to do a flooded fantastic trip, which is in that same cave that's got the deepest hole in the continental United States, and
Right.
so they're actually wait all the rain that's just coming through. So now this thing's flooded. The waterfalls are flooded, but I got some rib injuries. So like I told them, I don't want y'all to have to drag me out. So it's not safe for me to go with them tomorrow, but it's killing me not to be able to go with them. But yeah, you just want to always just be conscious of your surroundings in a cave, and mainly just, I mean, I've had stuff happen to me, and I feel like I know fairly well, so you just never know. I mean, you definitely don't want to go caving in California when there's much earthquakes. I mean,
Right.
I'm in
Yeah.
Alabama. We don't see those very often at all, so that's
Right.
not a concern. But
Yeah.
yeah, for the
That
most part, it's like you're just a kid crawling around underground. I mean, there are dangers. The stuff people criticize me all the time on my YouTube videos, or they want to say something about getting stuck and this and that. Because there's a couple people who have died in caves getting stuck, but those were like one-off situations where they did something that they shouldn't have done, or they thought they were somewhere else, so they can safely go head first down a hole if it opens up.
right.
But there's been people stuck head first down in holes. It's like, I would never go head first down a hole if I didn't know what was on the other side of that, or I didn't know it
Right.
opened up, but yeah, unfortunately accidents happen and things happen, but it's scary. They think because we're going through something tight that we're going to die and we're putting everybody at risk and everything. No, we're having fun. Like, we're challenging ourselves to push through something, or, for for our own joy, for our own pleasure, or even to open something up to share a waterfall underground that you may not be able to get to, And
Right.
when I got that cave and I saw what was under there, and it had a gate on it, former owner had put a gate years ago, quit the vandalism. People had to get rescued out of the cave because they had fallen 80 foot down the cliff and stuff like that. So
Right.
there was a
Right.
gate up. But like I told the kids, I was like, I cannot keep this, I can't just keep this place to myself.
Right.
And so
Right.
that's what the whole cave park thing started back then. It was like my passion was high adventure with ropes and stuff, and I've always loved caves, and I was just like, it just came, my life came full circle, man. My first paycheck, guess what I bought? A rope, a carabiner, a figure eight, and some webbing so I could tie my own harness, and that was my very first paycheck from working at a Subway sandwich shop.
Wow. There you go.
And so I was 15 years old and spent my whole money. I think it was like $169 was my check that week. 40 hours, 169 bucks. But I
That's
got me
awesome.
some rope. You know what I mean? And so from my first paycheck of work to now, this is like my work. And
Yeah, man.
so it kind of came full circle for me, and it's been wonderful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Yeah, when you're exploring new caves, do you bring tools with you, like to chisel, because like for me, one of when I'm watching these your videos and stuff like that, and seeing how you guys explore the new caves, I'm like, how do you know like how big, like because you keep going and you don't know what's to expect, right?
Right.
It's and I guess that's part of the anticipation of it all. But like, do you have chisels and stuff like that just in case you have to widen it out, or do you just take what nature gives you because you don't know if it's going to collapse, or like I don't know the science behind it.
Yeah. Well, usually initially, since we're in a cave and we're dragging stuff and we're having to carry everything down, and it's a lot different. Also, a lot of the folks I go caving with, because all of us are YouTubers, so we're filming, and it's not like we just got a camera. Like you know how it is. Like there's a lot of stuff involved.
Right,
Just trying to get the shot and stuff. So we're carrying that kind of gear with us, and when you're in a cave and cameras, you got to have light. So we're dragging a bunch of light equipment down and big flashlight stuff to light it up so we can actually get the video stuff. So as far as exploring goes, carrying extra hammers and chisels and stuff like that, first trip, not really. We're
right,
gonna go in. We're gonna, like you said, we're gonna see what nature gives us. Because what if it's only 100 feet crawl and it ends? Like you just don't know. So initially, we're gonna go in as light as possible and poke around. But yeah, there'll be trips later, yeah, and sometimes we'll have extra rope, in case we got to get down and stuff. And usually we're going
right.
to try to
Yeah,
find a natural rigging to go down initially. But then yeah, we're going to come back. We'll have drills to set anchors, rock hammers, whatever it might be, a little boom boom. If you got to get through some places,
right,
more
right,
rope. Now hey, there's this huge pit. We don't know, so then we're going to go in, and that's the thing. The second trip down there, we might make it to the bottom of a 200-foot pit that we weren't. And then bam, now we got a whole nother cave to explore. A lot of times you get to the bottom of these pits and you've got, could be miles of passage.
wow,
So now now you're deeper in, and that's the thing. A lot of the big caves that are like multiple day expeditions, like you're going to go in so far, camp, go in so far, camp. But what they'll do, they'll have hundreds of people, and some of these that are like they'll have 9 base camps because they're so far down.
wow.
There's some long ones where they'll have so many people go in so far, and you've got the ones that are pushing the trip at the front. It takes them longer to get down there, but they're never going to come back out. They're going to go back to a base camp, but these people are going to keep that base camp supplied. So you got people just going back and
Oh,
forth between
so
these
the
base camps, just
supplying,
keeping that first base camp, the farthest one, and then they'll establish a new base camp. And you'll have these people, they'll never see the bottom. These people up here are base camp, the first few base camps, they'll never go explore the deepest. They're there in support for the rest of it.
right?
But when it's all said and done and they find, everybody's a part of that expedition. And I've never been a part of some huge multi-day expedition like that. I watch the YouTube videos too, and
Right.
I've got friends that go do stuff like that, and share their experiences. And it's cool. I've got 4 kids, and they're just now getting old enough where I can actually stay away a little bit longer. So yeah, we're gonna do some international travel this year and check out some stuff. But yeah, I've been pretty close to home in the U.S. We did a little out west exploring. I actually took my kids with me out west this summer and did some exploring out there. So
That's
yeah,
great.
but yeah,
That's
those big
amazing.
those big trips, yeah, and just think about the years of planning it takes to do one of those when you people. And so a lot of cave expeditions, they were planned well in advance. And you gotta think seasonally. We can't be exploring caves when it's the monsoon season.
Right, yeah,
And
because you
so there's
don't
a
want
lot
to.
of things that have to line up. You might have a certain window. You might have an endangered bat species in this cave, or you can't be in there at a certain time. So there's several factors, but like I said, it's like a kid just going into a new world, and you just go in there and just try to be as safe as you can.
It really is like exploring space or the ocean, or it's uncharted territory, and you really are discovering new things and seeing things for the first time that no one else has ever seen or existed, and I just find it really amazing, and I think that what you guys are doing with YouTube and Instagram, I mean, you has really brought a light to what, no pun intended with the light in the cave, but it's really brought a light to what you guys are doing, like a world that
Right.
no one knew existed, and a kind of a culture and a community that nobody knew existed. And now you guys have just, bringing it to all of us through social media. So how has that changed the game? You seeing a lot more cavers, or are you getting a lot more like respect, or like how has the game changed since this has happened?
When you introduce social media into caving, you've got these secretive quote grotto groups, and sometimes they can get political. So you've got good grottos and bad grottos, as anything. But you've got these groups that are kind of secretive, and then we're out here showing people caves, and so you've got kind of mixed emotions there, where some people like to keep things in wrap, and so some grottos get a bad name. They call it gatekeeping, where they think because they know where the cave's at that no one else can go, are supposed to go, or
Right,
there's some of that going on. Then you got some people that just they want it open and all for everybody. But here's the problem, man. This is the main thing, and we have to be careful with it with social media. Is let's say I go show this beautiful cave and everybody sees this awesome cave, and everybody wants to go. And so I show where it's at and people go. Well, what happens, man, when thousands of people go somewhere,
right,
all at once? And
right. And it
and
gets
they're and they're not quote people who are not necessarily concerned about your environment. They could
right,
be people who want to go here and break formations off. But what tends to happen, and what happened to my cave and what I've left in my cave, when you first walk into my cave, you're going to see graffiti all over the walls. From the original, whenever they came out with spray paint, people started spray painting caves. So there's
right.
graffiti on the wall. You can see where people have broken stalactites off and stalagmites off, and
Yeah,
and so we still have to be conscious that we don't want to like we don't want to invite that out here to some of these pristine caves. So there, a lot of them are gated, a lot of them are keys. And if you're a caver, a lot of cave owners, uh, like they're friendly to the caving society, but they're not just going to let the random public,
right,
come in. But then you got organizations that own a lot of cave preserves and have caves, and you get permits to go visit those caves. And so it's really cool. But yeah, we just have to keep in mind uh, when we share, because there's been issues, with people sharing stuff that they shouldn't have shared, or just like mainly it's locations. Some caves you're not going to get the location from me. You know what I mean?
right, right.
But if you
Exactly.
want to
Yeah,
go, I'll take you. You know what I mean?
right.
But
But
I'm
you
not
don't
just going
want
to
to.
publicly,
Right,
and it's because it's sad that humans, treat our environment the way they do, but that's just how it is. And if you go to any open cave that's out there and well known, and you can just look at it and you can see what happens. And so there's a lot of pristine caves that very few people have been in. But a lot of the good ones, it's just we call them idiot filters. You get into
right,
a
right,
cave and there's some tight restriction you have to get through. That's the idiot filter because it's going to keep the idiots out
right,
because they're
right,
in there trying to tear stuff up. They're not going to go through too much, to get there. If it's way off in the woods, it's not like we have to worry about that cave being vandalized. But the ones that are close, easily accessible, you don't have to drop 200 foot down a pit to access. Like those are the ones that unfortunately get damaged. But I like to share. Like that whole thing is just like you're saying. Like some people can't go, or some people will never have that chance, and like this is how they get to actually live through us in a sense, as far as see some of the beautiful places. And I post a lot of crazy squeezing stuff, that gets
right.
all the claustrophobic people fired up, and those are the ones I've had actually go viral when it's somebody squeezing through something tight, that yeah, those are the ones I've had. A lot of them that go viral is the tough squeezes. So we make sure to show those, but a lot of people get scared, like that's caving, and I will show you hundreds of cavers who have never squeezed through anything like that. That's just
Right,
some of
right,
the extremes of caving. But yeah, that's why a lot of my stuff I hashtag it extreme caving.
right, right,
Some caving, your show cave, you on the highway and you walk and you got the handrails and all that. But there's caves that don't have handrails that are big and open like that, where you're not going to deal with claustrophobia and stuff. So got a little
yeah,
bit for everybody.
yeah. I in Georgia, actually, I did go into a cave once, but we didn't have to go through any tight squeeze. It was one of the ones you're talking about with the handrails. You kind of walk in, you see the
Yeah.
stalagmites and all that kind of stuff, and it was super cool. Again, I'm a rookie, so the only other time it was I went into an old in Atlanta. I went into an old gold mine where we went down and walked through the mines, and then they turn out the lights. You see how dark it really is, and that's another thing people don't might not realize from watching these videos is if you turn off those lights, it's you can't even see your hand in front of your face. It's like crazy,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. So I'm sure when you went down in the mine or whatever, it was on a tour and they did that. They shut the lights off.
Yeah, yeah,
But you're gonna get that in every cave. Every cave
right,
tour they're gonna shut the lights out. It's dark. So if you come on one of our wild cave adventure tours, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna shut the lights off.
right,
The only lights are on your head. But we're not shutting switches. This is the
right.
only light you got, a little headlamp. So we're gonna cut our headlamps off and we actually go caving in the dark. So I've got this unique passage. It's really cool. You can't get lost, but we're actually feeling our way through the cave in the dark down this little passage, and people love it. I call
That's
it
awesome.
caving Helen Keller style. And so yeah, we started doing that probably about 7 years ago, and it's yeah, you get to not only experience that darkness, but then you actually have to participate in it, and you've got to actually what it's going to be like if you lose your light. It's you're
Yeah,
going to get
that's amazing.
if you lose your light, you're not getting out. So while we're on that subject of, let me just go ahead and tell you one rule of caving: you always have three sources of light. So yeah, never go underground with sources of light. That's the rule.
So what, like
I've
a
done it with two
flashlight, your
before.
helmet,
I had a backup lighter or something. But
right,
three flashlights. Just I mean, mainly three flashlights is usually it.
right,
Sometimes you get away with two flashlights and your camera phone. It's just
right,
ortho
right, right.
light. But yeah, you want to have three. You want to have three flashlights. What if two go out?
Yeah,
So three is generally pretty safe. And I always carry more than three. And then like I'm usually in there carrying a bunch of equipment for more people. So yeah, extra batteries and flashlights is definitely what you want to do. I've got a kind of it's somewhat of a funny story about some people that went down into my cave once, and there was 10 of them. There was two families that went down there. They went down there together. This was long before I had the cave. Now this was like 40 something years ago. So you got to think about the flashlights they had then, no LEDs or anything like that.
right, yeah.
And they ended up getting down all the way down the little 80-foot cliff, made their way down to my bottom stream passage. And it was two families, little kids, the mom and the dads. And they went down there, couldn't find their way out. And eventually their lights, they looked till their lights went out. It got even worse because they didn't tell anybody. So when we go in a cave, we tell somebody. If we don't get out by a certain time, hey, where I'm at. We want somebody to come rescue us if we don't get out in a certain time. Well,
Right,
these
yeah.
two families, they wanted to do an open cave because that cave was open. They knew about it. Let's go cave exploring. They went down there. Like I said, lights went out. Worst situation you could be in, besides something hurt. And if it wasn't for another guy that I met more recently, he was a teenager at the time. Him and two of his friends, they decided they're going to do some cave exploring, and this one actually knew this cave because had took him in this cave when he was a kid. So he took his buddies cave exploring and found found those two families down there. Those 10 people were sitting down there in the dark and
Wow.
day, just sitting in the dark, waiting to die. You're waiting to die or waiting for somebody to come find and tell
Oh,
anybody. Nobody knew they were there. Yeah. There were
so
some
they,
vans parked on the road.
so those two guys that just stumbled upon the families are like angels,
Yeah.
essentially. It's like save them
Yeah.
without realizing they were going to save a family that day. That's
No, they had no idea. Yeah.
wow. Yeah,
Yeah. So
how
when he came in, an article about that, and they came into the cave and were taking pictures, and they were telling me about everything that went down, and I was like, yeah, that they just thought and that's the danger. Don't watch YouTube and be like, okay, I'm just gonna, you can, but it's you gotta tell somebody. And that's rule number one. Rule number two is the flashlights. Rule number one, tell somebody to go in a hole in the ground so they know they'll come find you if you don't come out.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Uh,
you don't want to just sneak off, go caving without anyone knowing where you are, and then and not have enough flashlights or something like that, or even like food to eat or
You
something like a water.
can't come out.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you get hurt, you break a leg, you're gonna be right there. Somebody's got to come.
yeah,
Like you got to tell somebody. Yeah. So I tell my kids are my rescue team. But they've grown up in this cave. They know this cave better than pretty much anybody else. So I got some kids on the rescue. If I don't come out, if they get out of school and Daddy ain't home, they're coming down underground to find out what's going on. But I let them know it when I have my cave tours. So I'm not in there every day.
right, right.
So yeah, the days I'm going underground, they definitely know.
All right. I've got some good foot to push.
I think if anyone is interested in doing this, they should go to where you are and have have someone guide them, have a proper guide that knows what they're doing, somebody that's part of, even if they went to Sims Cave Park to see you and have you guide them through. I think that would be amazing. I mean, that's the only way I would do it right now. I would never venture off to try to do that alone.
Yeah, that's pretty smart, man. And one good thing about the cave park, it just gives people to come try out caving. And that's the thing. And you learn, like, you come hang out with me for a while. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna hang out. I'm gonna show you everything I know about my cave. We're just gonna have a good time. It's like the most laid back too. It's not like, like I get in there with you, me and you're gonna have some fun. And there's some other folks, we're gonna have some fun. Everybody, we're gonna have some fun, but we can interact on a different level than I might can with these people or these people. So everything's tailored to you and your little group. Your little family, your kids in there. If they like this or that, we're gonna fill them up where they like. So yeah, I would recommend the same thing. If you go on one of these highway cave tours and you're like, this just ain't enough. I wanted to actually go in there,
Right.
and so it gives people a good opportunity to safely cave, and it's not easy. You know what I mean? Like, I got a lot of first time cavers. Most of my guests are first time cavers, but it's not easy. When I take my buddies through there for the first time and they're like, what? Like, they don't realize what I'm taking people through.
Right, right.
They're getting the full cave experience. I'm not, you're not going to get out of it.
Right.
Once you get in there with me, like, you're stuck, man. But to find your own way out, you're gonna have to follow me. Yeah.
That's why I really want to do it. It's on my bucket list. I want to go down and explore these caves, and I want to conquer, this, whatever fears of claustrophobia or, that you may have. I think because it's worth it. It's like when I take a hike on a mountain and I'm climbing it, through a hike, but the payoff is when you get there and you see the waterfall. I think the payoff is when is accomplishing it and seeing the cave, seeing all the beauty that lives beneath us that we never would see before. And I just think it's a feeling of accomplishment, a feeling of exploration, and you get in touch kind of with your primal self in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think it's really amazing. And I'm a guy from Long Island, New York. We don't have any mountains here, so when I see what you're doing, it's inspiring and it's influential, and I'm like, I want to do that. I want to try it. But I would never just go in there. I would need a guide. I would need a Wes Sims to kind of take me through safely. You know. So like, is that what would you recommend to anyone that wants to do this for the first time? What's like you said, I know some of the rules, but should they get a guide? And like, like if you're trying to tell somebody what to do, what would you say?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of resources out there for caving, and one of the better ones to reach out there to is just to find a local grotto. and some internet searches, you can find, because what you're going to find, you're going to have a group that meets every month. They're going to have some planned caving trips, planned out that they can join. I do a lot of stuff with the Coleman Grotto, and they do a lot of rope work. I actually went to with a lot of these guys. So look, hey, for somebody who likes to jump off stuff, that's we did an almost 800 feet jump off of the New River Gorge Bridge up there in West Virginia. So we got a rappelling team called the V-Batch Rappel Team. But I got into it through some of these Coleman Grotto guys that like rope. We're on rope to access caves, but we like cliffs too. And so, yeah, find a local grotto. If you don't like your local grotto, I understand. Find maybe there's another one, or reach out. I've got folks come from other states just to go caving with me, and we'll go do some stuff, and it's just reach out. I've got to see people grow in caving. Some of my best caving buddies right now, 2 years ago, never been in a cave. And that's the person I'm calling. Like, I trust them. Like, we're going to be able to get through something together, and it's great to see their growth. I had an 18-year-old buddy, and we hit fantastic, Ellison's Cave a bunch of times together. And it was great to see this kid who 6 months prior to that, he was a BMX bike rider, dirt bike rider. He didn't know nothing about caves, and he got into caving and he hit it full steam, and he's just showing out, and it's good to see that. And it's a cool society. There's caving events, there's good and bad everywhere. So find your people and go caving with them, and once you've got equipment and you can find caves, and there's some websites and stuff where you can like look up access any cave, but you got to be a part of like that cave, like the Alabama State Cave Registry, and so you can find these places, and they'll have maps, and you can go basically explore. There's hundreds and hundreds of caves in my area that I can go explore. And I can look at maps and I can see, okay, well, this is what kind of rope I need. But it's because of all the caving people before me, and some of these grotto groups. And some of these people, that's all they do. That they just go map caves. That's what they love mapping caves. They're in it. They're mapping caves. And it's great for all of us. I don't look at a lot of maps too much. I like just seeing, but if I'm traveling to a cave, sometimes I might look and see, okay, well, now I know what I need as far as rope, because if we got to haul 6 ropes underground to get to the bottom of the cave, you don't want to go all the way in the cave and you're 5 ropes in and you need one more to get to the very bottom.
Yeah.
Because then it's kind of like you don't feel that accomplishment like you feel when you get out of the cave. It's like we didn't quite it, but there's a few caves I'll never see the bottom of. I have tried to push myself through some places I have not been able to fit, and I just have to swallow that, and realize that I just can't. And so I don't feel bad about it because I've made it to those places, and I've given a good effort in some of these caves that I'll just never see. And I am somewhat of a pain freak, but some I'm not signing myself up sometimes for some of the grueling stuff that we have to self-torture to get through some of these places. Sometimes I ask myself, what am I doing? I really do. But for the most part, it's all fun and games.
Right.
I'd say it's 99% fun and games, and that 1% is like, what's wrong with me?
Well, there's part of being like a thrill seeker too. Like kind of seeing how far you can push yourself. I would think now. So what's on like your bucket list? Like, is there a certain like cave that you want to explore? Is there a certain do you want to break your rappel record? Like, what's your bucket list?
Well, there's a cave in Mexico that's definitely on my bucket list. There's supposed to be an 1,100-foot drop in that one, so I'll be planning to do that. Some of my stuff. So there's not really many legal places in this country, unfortunately, to do stuff like Bridge Day. They shut this bridge down once a year, huge festival, 100,000 people or more come out, and they base jump off the bridge, and we're under the bridge rappelling off the bridge, and it's all legal. Of course,
Right.
They put you through a lot to allow you to do that. You know, you got to be on a team. The team's got to qualify and all this other stuff. But yeah, anything that I really want to do, I would have to not announce that I'm doing, or
Right.
yeah, there's a couple big faces, but yeah, for as far as the Aussie rappel, it's got to be almost. I need a straight vertical drop for the most part of that. So there's only very few places, but there's a cave in Mexico, an 1,100 footer that I want to go tackle, but I'm going to have to. Uh, the reason a lot of people hadn't done what I'm doing is because the gear that they use to go down these deep pits is different than what I use and what I trained on, and so that's a lot of people. Before I dropped down that fantastic pit, I had literally 100 people tell me don't do it. And I'm like, I didn't think that was a big deal. And I'm like, so the whole time I never went into it thinking this is dangerous or whatever. And it obviously it wasn't. I've done it many times now since. And but they were just looking out for me, you know, because I would not tell you or anybody else who has been on road for a few years, hey, go do this, you know.
Right,
But like I
yeah.
said, I'm 46 years old, you know. I've been on road, and if I ain't got it figured out now, then whatever. But I felt so accomplished when I went down there, and that was just using a certain rappel device to go down. You know, the figure eight to rappel down fantastic. And then yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, I was able to take it a step farther, do the Aussie rappel down, and everything was just set up perfectly. It couldn't have been any better. Only thing that could have been better would I could have had people down there already videoing me.
Oh yeah, it's
So I
just,
had
yeah,
GoPros set up. Yeah, I was the first one down. So I'll yeah, I'm definitely going to be going back and making some cool videos of doing that. Yeah, but as far as bucket list, besides doing some traveling, man, I got some caves in Spain I want to go see. I want to go see some caves in New Zealand. I'm actually getting ready to put a zip line up in my cave,
oh wow.
and so that'll be the first one in you know, North America. But I wanted to be like the first one in the world years ago to do that, but this guy in New Zealand got me. So he beat me to it. So there's a zip line in a cave in New Zealand. It's on my bucket list. I want to go check out. But besides just traveling with my girl, man, and going and seeing some pretty stuff, like, you know,
Yeah, man.
taking the family around. I mean, that's my bucket list is just experiences. You know, if I see a high waterfall or a high cliff, though, I want to jump off of it. I just can't help that. That's the thrill seeker side of me. Like when I see something really high, I just want to be on a rope jumping off of it. Eventually, I'm gonna be I'll base stuff, and I'm not there yet. You know, the squirrels who are flying
Yeah,
around through the
yeah, yeah. You do that stuff. That'd be crazy.
yeah. I'm bucket list. You know, I
Yeah.
don't want to do some of the stuff I see them doing, but I would really like to do some base jumping. I mean, what I'm doing right now is as close to a base jump as you can get.
Right. Yeah.
So what's the next thing, you know? Yeah, and
That.
maybe I base jump inside a cave. That's never been done. Yeah, I don't know
Hey.
of any, you know.
That, yeah.
Well, they come down a pit, you know, down in Mexico. I think it's and Cave of Sorrows. I think that's what it's called. But yeah, if you look up Mars, big, huge open air pit. I mean, it's wet. I might be. It's over 1,000 feet down or something. But I've seen base jumpers, a bunch of them jump down in that. But this would be down in a cave. But yeah, there's. I just added that to my bucket list. Jumping down Cave of Sorrows. I appreciate it. Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
that's
Yeah. So if you could base jump in the Ellison's cave where you did propel down, you could base jump. You think there's like the parachute and all that would be
There
big
would
enough?
be a very slight chance. Yeah, one of the ledges, you might have to jump off of one ledge. It's about 80 foot down. But the problem is your parachute. Then you'd probably have to do it with like a round parachute versus what most base jumpers are using, some sort of military style
Right. Yeah. Like the
parachute.
old school.
Not going to slow you down a lot, you know, but it's going to keep you from dying type parachute. Yeah, I have to think about that one. Yeah, we'll have to think about that.
Well, Wes,
It may not
you
ever come to fruition, but it's fun to think about, you know.
yes, indeed. Well, you're an amazing guy, and congratulations again on breaking that record. And also, I hope you recover fast. I know you said you got injured at of all places in your living room, which I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
is
on the couch. Yeah, yeah, that was a fun Friday night. Yeah, yeah, it was actually a couple days before I had to make that. So I was I was pretty messed up going down in that pit that day, but I said, man, I had some folks coming from out west. Yeah, a guy with hownottto.com, Ryan, Mineral Dude, one of my buddies, Alex, Cantrell Caving. Yeah, we were getting together, for this little film production thing we were doing, testing some stuff, and so I couldn't miss it. But I
Right
was in
on,
pain, man. I
man.
hurt, man. But I felt so good after it. I didn't feel any pain during the ascent. It was all fun again. It took about 1 minute to get down the bottom, but it was everything lined up smoothly. Everything went well, and yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
man.
was still nursing that rib there. Yeah, don't set up obstacle courses in your living if you're over the age of 7. It's not recommended.
That's. Do you have any pictures of that that you could on online? We could find any of that.
I wish I would have been filming it. My girlfriend laughed at me. She's got it in her head. She thinks about it often. I'll see her still look at me and just start laughing, and I'll be wondering what she's laughing about. She'll just be thinking about me hitting the couch with my ribs, and it's just yeah. I did it to her, like she was on the same obstacle, and it was falling, and I had to jump, and
Wow.
it got
So-
ugly. We didn't call fire and rescue though. Like I sucked it up.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
There
we're
you
good.
go. Well, you're the man. I appreciate you, Wes. Thank you so much for doing this. Tell everybody where
Yeah.
they can find you and follow you, and if they want to come out to the world famous Wild Cave Adventure Tour, and if they want to watch you on Instagram and YouTube and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so CAVEZIP, one word CAVEZIP. I'm on anything except Facebook, Wes Sims. But yeah, Sims Cave Park. You can just look up Sims Cave Park. You're gonna find me. And Birmingham, Alabama. We're actually the #1 outdoor activity on TripAdvisor for Central Alabama. So it's pretty cool to have that honor. I've been working my way up, but everybody loves it, man. I've got hundreds of 5-star reviews, and I plan to keep it that way. Like I said, if you want an underground good time, I'm close for it.
It
Yeah.
looks like a blast. Everybody that you give the tours to that I've seen on video, loving it and highly recommending it. It just looks like something that I feel like everybody should do. Like I said, it's on my bucket list. I feel like it's something that everyone should experience at least once in their life. You know?
Yeah. It's as intimate with Mother Nature as you're gonna get.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. And you're gonna find out. I'm gonna hold you to it, man. We're gonna get you down here this year, whenever. And yeah, hold off, slim up a little bit if you feel like
Yeah,
you
I gotta
need
lose
to.
lose a little weight. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll wait till the summer. Get a little sweat going in the summer. Might lose a few pounds, might help. But yeah, I get you through there, man. We won't have nothing to worry about. I get somebody behind you to push. I'll pull.
There you
Hey,
go.
you're
We'll
golden,
make
man.
it through. Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Wes. And yeah, I'm planning to
Yeah.
come down there. I love Alabama. I've been to Birmingham a few times. Just in the city part of it, beautiful city. Always a lot of fun. I did some work there for the FSL. They had the football league going on there in a couple years in a row. So I come out to work on that. But yeah, I definitely want to come out and and get in there and explore the caves with you, bro.
Looking forward to it because I need to put you on one of my YouTube videos.
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
it,
We got to switch up.
Yes, sir. Well,
Good deal. I
thanks.
appreciate it, Don, man. That's been fun.
Yes, you're the man. I appreciate you. Wes Sims, everybody, check him out.
Later, Don.